The Cash App notification stops Emily's heart. $2,000 received from Julian Albright. She asked for $40 for diapers. He sent $2,000. But it's not the amount that terrifies her. It's what comes next. Another notification, $5,000, then $10,000, then $25,000. Her phone won't stop buzzing. Money flooding her account. $50,000, $100,000, $250,000. Emily's crying, trying to decline the transfers, but they keep coming. Her phone is ringing now. Unknown number. She answers. Stop sending money. I only needed $40. This isn't about diapers anymore. The voice is Julian's, but different, hollow, wrong. Emily, I made a mistake. I flagged the wrong account. This is corporate money. $500,000 just got transferred to your personal account from Helix Core's reserve fund. And my CFO just noticed. What? No, I didn't accept anything over $2,000. It doesn't matter. The transactions show your account, your Cash App. The board is calling an emergency meeting. They think you're stealing. This is insane. You sent it by accident. I know that, but someone altered the transaction records. Someone made it look intentional. Someone's framing you, Emily. And we have about 40 minutes to prove you're innocent before the FBI gets involved. Sometimes fate disguises itself as a wrong number. For Emily Parker, that disguise arrived at 12:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. One mistyped digit that sent her desperate plea not to her brother but to a complete stranger. I just need $40 for diapers. 8 words, one wrong number, and a billionaire CEO who should have deleted the message and gone back to his empty penthouse. But Julian Albright didn't delete it because he understood something wealth had almost made him forget. That desperation has a voice, a specific tone, the kind that sounds like a mother choosing between pride and survival winning by the thinnest margin. When someone asks for $40 like it's the difference between catastrophe and making it through one more night, you don't ignore them. You help. This is the story of a woman with nothing asking a man with everything for the smallest mercy, and how that mercy became something neither of them saw coming. A second chance, a found family, and proof that sometimes the universe has terrible aim but perfect timing. Emily Parker didn't plan to text a billionaire. She only wanted her baby to stop crying. It was after midnight, the kind of hour when even the rain against the window sounded apologetic. Emily sat on the worn couch of her one-bedroom apartment, legs tucked beneath her, a faded throw blanket pulled tight around her shoulders. The lights were off, not for atmosphere, but because the power company had cut service that morning when her payment bounced. Noah cried from the bedroom. 8 months old, her entire world, and tonight he was hungry. The last diaper had torn hours ago, held together with packing tape. The formula can sat empty on the kitchen counter, a metallic reminder of what she couldn't provide. Emily picked up her phone with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Her thumb hovered over her brother's contact. Ben had helped before, not happily, not without the kind of sighs that made her feel smaller than poverty already did. But he had helped. She didn't want to call again. Didn't want to hear that particular silence before he said yes, the one that meant he was calculating how much he could spare and how much resentment it would cost him. But tonight wasn't about pride. It was about a baby who didn't understand why his stomach hurt. She typed, Ben, I'm sorry to bother you again. I just need $40 for diapers. I'll pay you back Friday. Her finger trembled as she hit send. She didn't double-check the number. Didn't even glance at the name. Just set the phone down on the cushion beside her, dropped her forehead to her knees, and waited. 5 minutes later, the phone buzzed. I think you have the wrong number. Emily froze. Her stomach dropped so fast she felt dizzy. She grabbed the phone, stared at the screen in horror. One wrong digit. She'd mistyped, texted a complete stranger. I'm so sorry, she typed back, fingers flying. Please ignore that, wrong number. She locked the screen, tossed the phone onto the couch like it had burned her, and pulled the blanket over her head. Another failure. Another mistake. Add it to the pile. Before we continue, if your heart feels even a spark from this story, pause for a moment. Like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Your story matters too. Across the city, 43 floors above the streets Emily walked, Julian Albright stood at the window of his glass penthouse office, staring at the message on his private phone. He never gave this number out. No press, no assistants, only family. And that list had gotten shorter every year. The text wasn't spam. It wasn't a pitch. It wasn't someone angling for investment or influence. It was raw, real, desperate in a way that made his chest tighten. I just need $40 for diapers. I'll pay you back Friday. He looked at it again, reading what she hadn't typed. The apology, the promise of repayment, the Friday that probably meant payday, which meant she was counting hours until she could survive again. You should ignore this. Most nights, he would have. Julian Albright didn't get to where he was by responding to misdirected texts. He got there by focus, by ruthlessness, by keeping the world at a carefully maintained distance. Instead, he typed, "Is your baby okay?" Emily stared at the follow-up message, her breath catching. What kind of stranger asked that? Her first instinct was to block the number, delete the thread, pretend it never happened. But something about the question, the simplicity of it, the way it didn't demand explanation, made her pause. "We'll manage," she wrote back. "Sorry again." Three dots appeared immediately. "I can help. No strings." Emily scoffed out loud, the sound bitter in the dark apartment. "Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers." "Smart policy. I'm Julian. Now I'm not a stranger." She didn't reply. She went to Noah instead, picked him up from the crib, rocked him against her chest, whispered things she half believed about how it would get better, how mommy was trying, how he deserved so much more than this. And then she cried. The quiet kind. The kind that came from being tired. Not just physically, but tired of being broke. Tired of calculating whether she could afford toilet paper or deodorant. Tired of choosing between formula and rent. Then she did something she never thought she'd do. She sent him her Cash App link. 3 seconds later, her phone buzzed. $2,000 received from Julian Albright. Emily sat frozen on the edge of the couch, Noah sleeping against her shoulder. She blinked once, twice, opened the app, checked again. $2,000, not $40. $2,000. Her hands started shaking so hard she nearly dropped the phone. "This is too much," she typed. "I only needed $40. It's already yours. No catch. One less thing to worry about." Emily didn't cry when she got evicted from her last apartment. She didn't cry when Noah's father blocked her number the day she told him she was pregnant. She didn't cry when the grocery store cashier loudly counted her food stamp balance while people in line stared. But this broke her. Her hands shook. Tears streamed down her face, hot and fast and unstoppable. "Thank you," she typed. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just take care of Noah." She stopped breathing. She'd never told him her son's name. Emily couldn't sleep. Even after Noah finally drifted off, his belly full of the formula she'd run out to buy at the 24-hour pharmacy, his tiny body relaxed in a way she hadn't seen in days. She lay awake in the darkness, phone clutched in both hands. She opened the Cash App again, stared at the transfer. 2,000, still there, still real. For a long time, she just looked at it, waiting for it to vanish, for this to be revealed as some elaborate scam, some sick joke the universe was playing on her. But the money stayed. And that's what scared her most. People didn't just send thousands of dollars to strangers. They didn't follow up with kindness instead of demands. They didn't ask if your baby was okay. She scrolled back through their conversation, reading his messages again. "It's already yours, no catch." So certain, so simple. Like helping desperate mothers was something he did every Tuesday. Emily typed a message, then deleted it. Typed again, deleted again. Finally, "You didn't have to do that." A moment passed, then another. The screen stayed dark. Good, she thought. Maybe he'd moved on. Maybe this strange, impossible kindness was a one-time thing and she could just accept it and never think about it again. The phone buzzed. "I know I didn't. I wanted to." Across the city, Julian Albright sat in the leather chair in his office that had never once been comfortable. He was still at Helix Corps headquarters at 1 a.m., but that wasn't unusual. He always stayed late, not because the work demanded it, but because going home meant walking into a penthouse that echoed with absence. Rebecca had been gone 2 years. The furniture was still arranged the way she liked it. Her books still lined the shelves. He shut that thought down. Quickly, efficiently, the way he'd learned to. The glass walls around him reflected the skyline, lights and steel and wealth stretching in every direction. Cold, expensive, empty. His phone buzzed again. Why would you help someone like me? You don't even know me. Julian stared at the message longer than he should have. Most people who contacted him wanted things. Partnerships, investments, access, influence. They came with pitches and proposals, with strategies for mutual benefit. This was the first time in years someone had asked him, simply and honestly, why he cared. So he told her the truth, or at least part of it. Because once upon a time, someone helped me when they didn't have to. I've never forgotten that. There was a pause, long enough that he thought maybe she'd stopped responding. Then, I want to pay you back. His eyebrow lifted. For what? For the diapers, for the formula, for all of it. Julian looked out at the city, at the lights of apartments where people were sleeping, struggling, surviving. And he thought about the woman on the other end of this conversation, the one who'd apologized for asking for help, who'd promised repayment on $40, who was probably sitting in the dark right now wondering if accepting kindness made her weak. You don't owe me anything, he typed. But if you want to do something for me, what? Let your son have a childhood where he doesn't remember being hungry. 3 days later, a delivery van pulled up outside Emily's apartment. The driver knocked, clipboard in hand. Emily Parker? Yes. Sign here, please. Multiple packages. Emily signed, confused, and watched as he carried in 3 large boxes marked with the Helix Core Industries logo. After he left, she stared at them for a full minute before finding the courage to open the first one. Diapers, boxes and boxes of them. Every size Noah would need for the next year. The second box, formula, the expensive kind, the kind she'd looked at in stores but never bought because it cost 3 times what she could afford. The third box, baby clothes, soft, new, tags still attached, tiny socks, onesies with animals on them. A stuffed elephant that played a lullaby when you squeezed it. At the bottom of the box, a note on heavy cardstock. He deserves better than barely getting by. J.A. Emily sank to the floor surrounded by boxes and kindness and cried for the 3rd time that week. But this time, it wasn't from exhaustion or fear. It was from something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. 3 days after the boxes arrived, Emily's phone buzzed while she was folding Noah's new clothes. The tiny onesies with elephants and giraffes that still had tags attached. The kind she'd only ever looked at through store windows. Did the supplies arrive? She stared at the message. Part of her had hoped he'd just disappear, that the kindness would end cleanly. No strings, no follow-up. Just a strange act of generosity she could tuck away as a story she'd never quite believe happened. But here he was, still checking, still caring. They did, she typed back. You didn't have to do all that. The response came quickly. I wanted to. 3 words, simple, final, as if wanting to help was the most natural thing in the world. Emily looked at Noah, sleeping peacefully in the bassinet beside her, his belly full, his skin no longer irritated from makeshift diapers. She looked at the stacks of formula on her counter, the packages of wipes, the soft blankets. Thank you, she typed. I mean it. Thank you. You already said that. You don't have to keep saying it. I don't know what else to say. Then tell me how Noah's doing. And somehow that became the pattern. Over the next week, their text exchanges shifted from gratitude to something else, something quieter, more honest. Julian would ask about Noah, not in the polite way strangers ask about babies, but genuinely. What does he like to eat? Is he sleeping better? What makes him laugh? Emily would answer and find herself asking questions back, not intrusive ones, just human ones. Do you work late every night? Most nights. Keeps me busy. Busy isn't the same as happy. A long pause, then, no, it isn't. One evening after Noah had finally gone down after an hour of fussing, Emily was too tired to sleep. She found herself texting Julian at 11 p.m. Can I ask you something? Always. Why do you stay late if you don't have to? Another pause, longer this time. She thought maybe she'd overstepped, asked something too personal for whatever this was between them. Then, because going home means walking into a house that still has someone else's life in it. My wife, Rebecca, she died 2 years ago, car accident, and I haven't been able to change anything. Her books are still on the shelves. Her coffee mug is still in the cabinet. Going home means remembering I failed to protect the one person who mattered. Emily's breath caught. She read the message 3 times, feeling the weight of his grief through the screen. I'm so sorry, Julian. Don't be. I'm not telling you for sympathy. I'm telling you because you asked honestly, and I'm tired of people who don't. What was she like? Brilliant, stubborn. She saw the best in everyone, even when they didn't deserve it. Even when I didn't deserve it. Emily looked at Noah, thought about loving someone so much that losing them meant stopping time itself. She sounds like she loved you very much. She did. I just wish I'd shown up for her the way she showed up for me. You can still show up, just for different people now. His response came an hour later, as if he'd needed time to sit with her words. Maybe that's what I'm trying to do. The next night, Julian asked, what did you do before Noah? Before all this? Emily hesitated. The question felt loaded, like admitting she'd had dreams before survival became her only goal. I was in school, accounting. I was halfway through my degree. What happened? I got pregnant. Noah's father, and he wasn't interested in being a father, told me I was on my own. So I dropped out, needed to work. Couldn't afford both. Do you miss it? The studying? She'd never admitted this out loud, not to her mother, not to Ben, not even to herself on the hardest nights. Every day, I was good at it. Numbers make sense to me. They don't lie. They don't change. You can trust them. Unlike people. Unlike people. Another pause. Then, what if I told you that you could finish? That there's a spot at Helix Core for someone who's good with numbers and even better at seeing through bullshit? Emily's heart stopped. Julian, I don't have a degree. I don't have experience. You have integrity. You have a brain that sees patterns. You have the kind of hunger that makes people great at what they do. The degree is just paper. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an interview. What you do with it is up to you. Emily stared at the screen. This man, this stranger who'd sent her $2,000 for diapers, was offering her a way out, a real one, not charity, opportunity. I don't know what to say. Say you'll come in next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Helix Core Industries. Ask for Ava Collins. She'll be expecting you. What if I'm not good enough? Then you'll fail. But you'll fail having tried, which is better than spending the rest of your life wondering what if. Emily looked at Noah sleeping beside her, thought about what kind of life she wanted to give him, what kind of mother she wanted to be. Okay, she typed. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Good. She should have left it there. Should have said thank you and good night and let the moment end cleanly. Instead, she typed, why are you doing this? Really? The response took almost 10 minutes. Because when Rebecca died, I shut down, stopped seeing people, stopped caring about anything except work. Your text, that wrong number, it was the first time in 2 years someone needed something from me that wasn't about money or power or business. It was real, human, and I'd forgotten what that felt like. Emily's eyes burned. You helped me when you didn't have to, she said. His reply came through as she was wiping her eyes. Maybe it's time I let someone help me back. That night, Emily couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't from fear or exhaustion. It was from something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Real, tangible, terrifying hope. She had an interview. A chance. A stranger who'd become something more than a stranger, though she couldn't quite name what he was yet. A friend maybe, or maybe something neither of them was ready to acknowledge. Across the city, Julian sat in his office staring at their conversation thread and wondered when the act of helping someone else had become the thing that saved him. Tuesday couldn't come fast enough. The Helix Core building rose 43 stories above the city, all glass and steel, and the kind of quiet power that made Emily feel small before she even reached the entrance. She stood on the sidewalk for a full minute, clutching her worn messenger bag, the one with the broken zipper she'd fixed with the safety pin, and staring up at her reflection in the mirrored facade. She didn't belong here. These were the kinds of buildings she walked past quickly, head down, pretending not to notice the people in expensive suits moving through revolving doors like they owned the air itself. Her phone buzzed. A text from Julian. "You're going to do great. Just be yourself." Easy for him to say. He was born for places like this. She was born for survival. But she'd promised. And Emily Parker kept her promises, even the terrifying ones. She took a breath, adjusted the thrift store blazer she'd found for $12, and walked through the doors. The lobby was the kind of space that swallowed sound. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, a reception desk that looked like it cost more than her entire year's rent. "Emily Parker," she said to the receptionist, voice steadier than she felt. "I have an appointment with Ava Collins." The woman smiled, professionally but not unkindly. "23rd floor, she's expecting you." The elevator ride felt like ascending into another dimension. Soft music, polished mirrors. The faint scent of expensive cologne from the executive who rode up with her, never once glancing her direction. When the doors opened on the 23rd floor, a woman in a cream-colored suit was already waiting. "Emily?" She extended her hand, her smile warm and genuine. "I'm Ava Collins. Welcome to Helix Core." "Thank you for, I appreciate," Emily fumbled over her words. "Take a breath," Ava said gently. "You're expected here. You belong here. Julian doesn't bring people into this building lightly. Come on, I'll show you around." The hallways were all glass walls and quiet professionalism. People worked in open offices, heads down, the kind of focused silence that came from knowing every second counted, and all of them looked up as Emily passed. She felt their eyes, curious, assessing, some friendly, others less so. "Ignore them," Ava murmured. "They're just wondering who you are. Give it a week and you'll be old news." They stopped at a modest office near the end of the hall. Nothing ostentatious, just a desk, a chair, a window overlooking the city. "This is yours," Ava said. "Computer's set up. Login credentials are on the desk. Julian wanted you to have everything you need to." She stopped, smiled slightly, and gestured to a door Emily hadn't noticed. "Actually, there's one more thing." Emily followed her through the door and stopped dead. It was a nursery, small but perfect. A crib with soft blankets, a changing table stocked with diapers and wipes, toys in a wicker basket, a rocking chair by the window, even a small refrigerator, humming quietly in the corner. "Julian thought you might need it," Ava said softly. "So you wouldn't have to choose between being here and being with Noah. Daycare's expensive. This way he's close." Emily's vision blurred. She pressed her fingers to her mouth, unable to speak. "He thinks of everything," Ava continued. "Sometimes it's intimidating, but mostly it's just him, seeing what people need before they ask." "I don't," Emily's voice cracked, "I don't know how to thank him." "Don't thank him. Just do the work. That's all he wants." Ava squeezed her shoulder gently. "I'll give you a few minutes. Come find me when you're ready, and we'll go over your first assignments." After Ava left, Emily sank into the rocking chair and let herself cry. Not from sadness, not from fear, from being seen. For the first time in years, someone had looked at her life, really looked, and instead of judgment or pity, offered solutions. By midday, Emily was deep into spreadsheets. Ava had given her vendor audit logs, 6 months of invoices, payments, and approval records. "Just familiarize yourself with the system," she'd said. "See how transactions flow. No pressure. This is just orientation." But Emily couldn't help herself. Numbers had always made sense to her. And these numbers, something was off. She opened 3 months of invoices from a vendor called Summit Logistics Solutions. Small payments. 5,000 here, 8,000 there. Nothing dramatic enough to trigger automatic flags, but the pattern was too neat, too regular, every 2 weeks, almost like a subscription. She cross-referenced the vendor's tax ID with the company database. No contract on file, no onboarding paperwork, no point of contact listed. Emily frowned, opened another spreadsheet, started tracing approvals, all signed off by the same person, Vincent Harris, CFO. She was so focused she didn't hear the knock on her door. Finding anything interesting? Emily jumped, looked up. Julian stood in her doorway, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Sorry, I know I was just supposed to review, but I found something weird and I don't apologize for being thorough. He stepped inside, glanced at her screen. What did you find? This vendor, Summit Logistics. They're getting regular payments, but there's no contract, and all the approvals go through the same person. She hesitated. Is that normal? Julian's expression shifted. Something dark flickered across his face. No, it's not. Should I flag it? Not yet. He met her eyes. Keep digging, quietly. If there's something wrong, I need documentation before I move on it. Can you do that? Emily nodded. Yes. Julian studied her for a long moment. Emily, I need you to understand something. You owe me nothing. You're not here because I gave you money or sent you diapers. You're here because you have a brain that sees what others miss. Because you earned this. Do you understand? I'm trying to. Then try harder. His voice softened. You're allowed to belong in places like this. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be brilliant. Her throat tightened. What if I'm not? Then we'll figure that out together. But my money's on brilliance. After he left, Emily stared at her computer screen, heart pounding. For years she'd survived, scraped by, made it through one day at a time with nothing but grit and exhaustion. But sitting here in an office with her name on the door and a nursery for her son behind it, looking at numbers that needed unraveling. For the first time in years, she felt something beyond survival. She felt purpose, and somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear and disbelief and overwhelming gratitude, a spark of her old self flickered back to life. The girl who'd loved accounting, who'd dreamed of building something, who'd believed she could be more than circumstances allowed. That girl wasn't gone. She'd just been waiting. 3 weeks into her position at Helix Core, Emily found herself alone in her office at 9 p.m. Noah asleep in his crib behind her. The city lights spread out below like a constellation of possibilities. She should have gone home hours ago, but something about the Summit Logistics invoices wouldn't let her sleep. She'd been tracking them methodically, building a spreadsheet that mapped every payment, every approval, every digital fingerprint. And the more she looked, the clearer the pattern became. Not just one fake vendor, 5 of them. Summit Logistics, Apex Solutions, Cascade Industries, Meridian Consulting, Peak Services, all registered to the same IP address, all approved by the same person, all paid in amounts just small enough to avoid triggering automatic audit flags. 5,000 here, 8,000 there, never more than 15,000 in a single transaction. But over 18 months, the total was staggering. $3.2 million. Emily's hands trembled as she cross-referenced the vendor tax IDs with state business registries. 3 didn't exist. 2 were registered to addresses that turned out to be empty lots. Shell companies. All of them. And every single approval bore the same digital signature. Vincent Harris, Chief Financial Officer. She sat back, heart pounding. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an oversight. This was theft. Systematic, careful, calculated theft. You're still here. Emily jumped, spinning in her chair. Julian stood in her doorway, tie loosened, exhaustion evident in the set of his shoulders. I could say the same about you, she managed. I live here most nights. He glanced at Noah's nursery, where soft breathing could be heard through the cracked door. You have better reasons to go home. I found something. Emily turned her laptop toward him. Actually, I found 5 somethings. Julian crossed the room, leaning over her shoulder to study the screen. She felt the warmth of him, the faint scent of coffee and expensive cologne. Felt the way his breathing changed as he read her spreadsheet. Jesus, he whispered. 3 million. 3.2 over 18 months. Small enough payments to stay under automatic review thresholds, but consistent enough to be systematic. Emily pulled up another window. And look at this. All 5 vendors registered within a 3-week period. All approved by Vincent. Julian's voice had gone cold. Dangerous. I knew something was wrong. The numbers never quite added up. But Vincent's been with me for 8 years. I trusted him. Did you suspect him specifically? Julian was quiet for a long moment. Yes, but suspicion isn't proof. And going after a CFO without evidence is corporate suicide. The board would think I'd lost my mind. You have evidence now. Emily gestured at her screen. Shell companies, false invoices, a clear pattern. We have evidence, Julian corrected. You found this. You built this case. What do we do now? Julian straightened her, running a hand through his hair. Nothing. You do nothing. You delete this spreadsheet, go home, and forget you ever saw it. Emily stared at him. What? Emily, Vincent isn't just stealing money. He's dangerous. If he finds out, you know. If he realizes someone's tracking him. Julian's jaw tightened. I won't put you in that position. I'm already in that position. Emily stood, meeting his eyes. And I'm not deleting anything. This is what you hired me for, isn't it? To see what others miss? To find the truth in the numbers? I hired you because you deserved a chance. Then give me this chance. Her voice was steady, certain. Julian, I've been in worse places. I've had men threaten me over $50. I've had landlords bang on my door at midnight. I've sat in the dark with a crying baby wondering if I'd make it through another week. She gestured at the screen. This I can handle. This is just numbers, and numbers don't scare me. Julian studied her face, and something in his expression shifted. Pride, maybe, or recognition. If you dig further, he said quietly, you'll be in the crossfire. Vincent will come after you. The board might turn on both of us. This could cost you everything you have just gained. Then we better make sure we're thorough. A slow smile crossed Julian's face. All right, but we do this carefully. No more working late alone. No files on company servers. Everything encrypted. Everything documented. Agreed. And Emily? He held her gaze. Thank you. For not running. For being exactly who I hoped you'd be. Someone with terrible boundaries who can't leave problems unsolved. Someone brave enough to care. Over the next 2 weeks, they became ghosts. Julian would stop by Emily's office with coffee, and they'd exchange encrypted USB drives hidden in newspapers. Emily would email him about invoice formatting questions that were really coded updates on her findings. They met in the parking garage, in empty conference rooms at dawn, in the building's forgotten archive room where no one ever went. Each time, Emily brought more evidence. Bank routing numbers, email metadata, timestamps that prove Vincent was accessing the fake vendor accounts from his home computer. And each time, the bond between them deepened, not built on pity or charity or the accident of a wrong number. Built on trust, on shared purpose, on the quiet understanding that some battles are worth fighting, consequences be damned. Ava noticed, of course. Ava noticed everything. But she said nothing, just made sure Emily's office door was always locked when she worked late, made sure the security logs showed Emily leaving at normal hours, even when she didn't, made sure no one questioned why the CEO kept visiting a junior auditor's office. I don't know what you two are working on, Ava said one morning, handing Emily a coffee she hadn't asked for. And I don't need to know, but whatever it is, you have my support. Quietly, always quietly. Emily squeezed her hand. Thank you. Thank me by being careful and by wearing comfortable shoes. You're going to need them. Day 17 of the investigation, Emily's access logs were flagged. It sent a routine email. Your account showed unusual activity patterns. Please confirm all access was authorized. Standard procedure. Probably nothing. Except Emily hadn't accessed any unusual files. She'd been careful. Meticulous. Every search designed to look routine, which meant someone else was watching her activity. Her phone buzzed. Julian. Not a text, but a call. Something he never did during work hours. Don't react, he said immediately. Don't look around. Just listen. Vincent requested your access logs this morning. He knows someone's looking into him, and he's trying to figure out who. Emily's blood went cold. What do I do? Act normal. Keep working on your regular assignments. Don't access anything related to the vendors. Not until we figure out our next move. Julian, I won't let him hurt you. Do you understand? I won't let anyone hurt you. The line went dead. Emily sat very still, staring at her computer screen where a routine expense report glowed innocuously. Somewhere in this building, Vincent Harris was hunting, and she'd just become his prey. The boardroom had floor-to-ceiling windows that made Julian feel exposed even on his best days. Today wasn't his best day. Vincent Harris sat at the far end of the conference table, fingers steepled, expression calm in the way predators are calm before they strike. We need to discuss your recent distractions, Vincent said, voice smooth as poisoned honey. Julian didn't look up from his tablet. My focus is exactly where it needs to be. Is it? Because from where I sit, you've been spending an unusual amount of time with our newest employee, the single mother you hired out of sympathy. People are talking, Julian. Let them talk. You've gone soft. Vincent leaned forward. The Julian Albright I knew wouldn't have let personal feelings compromise his judgment. But then again, the Julian Albright I knew had Rebecca to keep him grounded. Now you're just adrift, making emotional decisions, bringing in charity cases. Julian's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. Emily Parker is an exceptional analyst. If you have concerns about her work, bring them to me professionally. Otherwise, we're done here. Oh, we're not done. Vincent stood, walked slowly around the table. See, I've been reviewing some interesting patterns, access logs, file requests. Your junior auditor has been very curious about vendor relationships, almost like someone pointed her in a specific direction. She's thorough. That's why I hired her. Or maybe you're using her, manipulating a desperate woman to do your dirty work. Vincent stopped behind Julian's chair. Here's what I think happened. You funneled money to her, what was it, $2,000? Then brought her into the company to create a paper trail that looks legitimate. Classic money laundering. She's your patsy, and you're using her vulnerability against her. Julian turned slowly, meeting Vincent's eyes. That's a serious accusation. It's also a narrative that would be very easy to sell. Woman texts billionaire begging for money. Billionaire sends money, then gives her a job she's not qualified for. Then suddenly she's accessing confidential financial records? Vincent smiled. The press would eat that story alive. And the board? They'd have no choice but to remove you. You're bluffing. Am I? Vincent pulled out his phone, showed Julian a draft email to the board's ethics committee. One click, that's all it takes. Your reputation, her future, everything you've built, gone. Julian stood facing him fully. What do you want? Walk away, stop the investigation, let sleeping dogs lie, and I'll forget this email exists. And Emily? She's collateral damage. But that's the price of doing business, isn't it? You of all people should understand that. Vincent's expression hardened. You have 24 hours to decide. Keep playing detective, or I'll make her the face of your downfall. And trust me, Julian, no one will believe the billionaire over the desperate single mother. They'll think you exploited her, used her, destroyed her. He left without waiting for a response. Julian stood alone in the boardroom, hands clenched, staring at his reflection in the glass. He wouldn't let Vincent hurt her, whatever it took. Emily was giving Noah his bottle that night when her phone rang. Blocked number. She almost didn't answer. But something, instinct maybe, or the cold certainty that ignoring threats didn't make them disappear, made her pick up. Hello? Heavy breathing, then a voice, distorted, mechanical. You think you're a hero? You think you are helping? Emily's blood went ice cold. Who is this? Stay out of Helix's business. Stay away from files that don't concern you. This is your only warning. I'm not. You have a son. You're alone. You have everything to lose. The voice was calm, almost pleasant. Walk away while you still can. The line went dead. Emily sat frozen, Noah squirming in her arms, the phone still pressed to her ear. Fear crashed over her in waves. Someone knew where she lived, knew about Noah, knew she was vulnerable. She should quit, should pack her things, delete her files, disappear back into anonymity, where at least she'd be safe. But then she thought about the $3.2 million, about all the other employees who might be getting hurt by Vincent's theft, about Julian, who'd given her a chance when no one else would. And she thought about the version of herself she wanted Noah to see when he was old enough to understand. She called Julian. Emily, are you? I got a call, blocked number, threatening me, telling me to back off. Her voice shook but held. It was Vincent, wasn't it? Silence, then. I'm coming over? No, don't. I'm fine. She took a breath. I'm not quitting, Julian. I'm not running. But we need help, real help. Someone who knows how to handle this. I know someone. Julian's voice was tight with controlled fury. Sarah Keller, forensic investigator. She's handled cases like this before. Corporate fraud, digital evidence, the works. If anyone can help us nail Vincent without you getting hurt, it's her. Can you trust her? With my life, and more importantly, with yours. Sarah Keller arrived at Helix Core the next morning, looking nothing like Emily expected. Mid-40s, sharp-eyed, dressed in jeans and a blazer, carrying a laptop bag that probably cost more than Emily's car used to. They met in Julian's private conference room, the one with soundproofing and no windows. So, Sarah said, settling into a chair and opening her laptop, you've got a CFO embezzling millions, and he's threatening to destroy you both if you expose him. Did I miss anything? He called Emily last night, Julian said, blocked number, threatening her son. Sarah's expression darkened. That was stupid of him. Threatens make people nervous. Nervous people make mistakes. She looked at Emily. You recorded it? I didn't think. Next time, record everything. Every call, every email, every conversation. We're building a case that's airtight. Sarah pulled up a document. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set a trap. What kind of trap? Emily asked. The kind that makes Vincent panic. We create a fake audit notice, make it look like federal authorities are reviewing Helix Core's vendor relationships. We leak it to his department only, not company-wide. If he's smart, he'll sit tight and wait. But if he's scared, he'll try to cover his tracks, Julian finished. Exactly. And when he does, when he logs into those shell accounts to move money or delete records, we'll have him. Digital fingerprints, timestamps, everything we need to prove he's not just approving payments, but actively controlling the accounts. Emily leaned forward. How long will it take? If he panics, 48 hours. If he doesn't bite, Sarah shrugged. We'll have to try something else. But men like Vincent don't handle fear well. And an IRS audit notice? That's the kind of fear that makes people stupid. Do it, Julian said. Sarah looked at Emily. You understand what you're signing up for? If this works, Vincent will know you were part of it. He'll come after you legally, maybe physically. Your name will be in depositions, possibly court documents. Are you prepared for that? Emily thought about Noah sleeping in his nursery down the hall, about the life she wanted to give him, about the woman she wanted to be. I've spent 3 years being afraid, she said quietly. I'm done being afraid. Let's end this. Sarah smiled, sharp, approving. Good. Then let's burn his world down. That night, Emily lay awake in her apartment, staring at her ceiling, waiting for the trap to spring. Somewhere across the city, Julian was doing the same. And in his home office, Vincent Harris was about to receive an email that would change everything. The clock was ticking. The fake audit memo was sent at 9:47 a.m. on a Thursday. By 11:23 a.m., Vincent Harris was logged into his home computer. By 11:31 a.m., he'd accessed the first shell account. Sarah Keller watched it happen in real time from her laptop in Julian's conference room, Emily and Julian standing behind her, barely breathing. There, Via whispered, pointing at her screen. Summit Logistics. He's moving money, transferring it to another account, offshore, Cayman Islands Registry. He's panicking, Julian said. He's burying evidence. Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard and leaving digital fingerprints all over it. IP address, device ID, timestamp. He's using his personal credentials to access corporate accounts and funnel money internationally. Emily watched the numbers cascade across the screen, thousands of dollars flowing like water through accounts Vincent thought were invisible. How much is he moving? She asked. Everything he can, probably hoping to disappear before anyone notices. Sarah looked up, her expression fierce. He just handed us everything we need: transaction records, geographic data, intent to conceal, even his device information. Julian pulled out his phone. Ava, schedule an emergency board meeting tonight, 7 p.m. Tell them it's mandatory and get security on standby. He ended the call and met Emily's eyes. Are you ready? Emily thought about the threatening phone call, about Noah sleeping peacefully in the nursery while his mother built a case that would change their lives, about the woman she'd been 3 months ago, desperate and alone, texting a wrong number. I'm ready. Vincent Harris arrived at 6:53 p.m., 7 minutes early, wearing a charcoal suit and the kind of smile that came from believing you'd already won. He walked into the boardroom like he owned it, found Julian, Emily, and Sarah waiting, along with Ava and 2 security guards stationed by the door. Well, Vincent said, settling into a chair, this is dramatic. Did you call the board meeting to announce my promotion, Julian? Or to apologize for wasting everyone's time with your little witch hunt? Neither, Julian said calmly. Sit down, Vincent. I'm already sitting. Vincent's smile widened. And I'm confused about why you brought an audience. Is this supposed to intimidate me? Because I have to tell you, I'm not scared of your accountant girlfriend or whoever this woman is. He gestured dismissively at Sarah. Sarah Keller, Sarah said pleasantly, forensic investigator, specializing in corporate fraud and digital evidence. Nice to meet you, Mr. Harris. Vincent's smile faltered. Just slightly. Forensic investigator. How official. Should I be worried? You tell me. Julian nodded to Sarah. The screens built into the conference room walls flickered to life. Every surface suddenly glowed with spreadsheets, bank records, transaction logs, Summit Logistics, Apex Solutions, Cascade Industries, Meridian Consulting, Peak Services, every fake vendor, every stolen dollar, every falsified approval. What is this? Vincent demanded, but his voice had lost its certainty. This, Emily said quietly, is 18 months of embezzlement, $3.2 million funneled through shell companies you created, all approved with your digital signature, all traced back to accounts you control. Vincent laughed, sharp, brittle. That's ridiculous. Anyone could have forged those approvals. You're grasping at straws. Are we? Sarah pulled up another screen. Because this morning at 11:31 a.m., you logged into the Summit Logistics account from your home computer. Same IP address you're currently registered to, same device. You then proceeded to transfer $847,000 to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The color drained from Vincent's face. You received a fake audit notice, Julian said, standing now, voice cold. And you panicked. Instead of sitting tight, you tried to move the money, hide the evidence. And in doing so, you proved everything. You set me up. We gave you an opportunity to expose yourself, Sarah corrected, which you took enthusiastically. Vincent's hands clenched. You think you're so clever. You think you've won. But I'll fight this. I'll tie you up in legal battles for years. I'll leak every piece of dirt I have on you, Julian. I'll destroy your reputation. You'll do nothing, Julian interrupted, because federal authorities have already been notified. The FBI's Financial Crimes Division received a full report at 5 p.m. They'll be waiting for you when you leave this building. Vincent shot to his feet. This is entrapment. This is justice, Julian leaned forward. You stole from this company. You threatened Emily. You thought because you'd been here 8 years, because I trusted you, you were untouchable. I was untouchable. You were wrong. Security stepped forward. Vincent looked at them, then at the doors, calculating escape routes that didn't exist. You'll regret this, he snarled at Julian. Then his eyes found Emily. And you think you're a hero? You're nothing. A charity case playing detective. When this falls apart, and it will, no one will remember your name. Maybe not, Emily said, voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. But they'll remember yours and what you stole and how you got caught. Ava moved to stand beside Emily, placing a hand on her shoulder. Security, please escort Mr. Harrington out. His access badges have been deactivated. He's no longer welcome in this building. Vincent tried to pull away, but the guards were firm, professional, unmoved by his protests. As they reached the door, Julian called out, "Vincent!" Vincent turned, face twisted with rage. "You underestimated her," Julian said simply. "The woman who texted me by mistake, the mother you threatened, the analyst who saw what you tried to hide. That was your biggest mistake." "Screw you, Julian." "No," Julian said quietly. "You screwed yourself." The doors closed behind him. The boardroom fell silent, and then Emily's legs gave out. She caught herself on the conference table, breathing hard, adrenaline finally crashing into exhaustion. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." Julian crossed to her, placed steady hands on her shoulders. "It's over. You did it. You found him. You built the way. You stood up when it would have been easier to walk away." "We did it," Emily corrected. "All of us." Sarah began packing up her laptop. "Federal agents will want statements from both of you. Probably tomorrow. But tonight you celebrate." Ava smiled, something proud and maternal in her expression. "I'll open the good champagne." But Emily barely heard them. She was looking at Julian, seeing the relief and gratitude in something else, something warm and unspoken in his eyes. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing me, for trusting me with this." "No," Julian replied. "Thank you for being brave enough to care, for being exactly who I needed when I needed it most." Outside the windows, the city glittered, and somewhere in that vast darkness, Vincent Harris was being read his rights. Justice had arrived. Not in a courtroom, not through lawyers and technicalities, but through a wrong number, a desperate text, and a woman who'd learned that sometimes the help you need comes disguised as an accident, and sometimes accidents are just fate with terrible timing. The story broke at 6 a.m. the next morning. Billionaire CEO and single mother exposed 3.2 million fraud at Helix Core Industries. By 8 a.m., it was everywhere. Cable news, social media, financial blogs. The story had everything the internet loved: corruption, justice, and an unlikely hero who'd started with a wrong number and ended with handcuffs on a CFO. Emily woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Her mother, "Sweetheart, you're on the Today Show." Ben, "Holy shit, Em, you took down a billionaire CFO?" Even people she hadn't spoken to in years were reaching out, congratulating her and asking for interviews. She sat on her couch with Noah in her lap, watching herself on TV, a photo Helix Core's PR team must have provided, professional and poised, while anchors discussed her courage and integrity. "The single mother who texted a billionaire by mistake has become the face of corporate accountability," the anchor said. Emily Parker's analytical work uncovered what authorities are calling one of the most sophisticated embezzlement schemes in recent corporate history. Emily muted the TV. It felt surreal, like she was watching someone else's life. Her phone buzzed. "Julian, how are you holding up?" "I'm on the news. People are calling me a hero. I don't know how to feel about that." "Feel proud. You earned it." "We earned it." "No, this was you. Your brain, your courage. I just gave you the space to do what you do best." She smiled despite herself. "Thank you for everything. Come to the office when you're ready. There's someone who wants to see you." The Helix Core lobby erupted in applause when Emily walked through the doors. Employees lined the atrium, clapping, some holding signs that read, "Thank you, Emily," and "Integrity wins." Others simply nodded with respect, the kind of acknowledgement that said she'd earned her place here. Ava met her at the elevator, elegant as always, but with tears in her eyes. "Emily Parker," she said, pulling her into a hug. "The heart of Helix." "I didn't do this alone." "Stop." Ava held her at arm's length. "You're allowed to accept praise. You're allowed to be proud. You exposed corruption that could have destroyed this company. You stood up when people with far more power tried to tear you down. You are the heart of Helix. Own it." Emily's throat tightened. "Thank you, Ava." "No, honey, thank you." The board meeting that afternoon was nothing like the emergency session the night before. This time the room was full, all 12 board members, legal counsel, and Julian at the head of the table with an empty chair beside him. For Emily, she sat, hands folded, trying not to feel like an imposter. Ms. Parker, the board chair began, an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. On behalf of Helix Core Industries, I want to extend our deepest gratitude. Your work has saved this company millions of dollars and protected our reputation. You have our full support. Thank you, Emily managed. We'd also like to formally reinstate Julian Albright's full authority as CEO, effective immediately. The allegations Mr. Harris attempted to make have been thoroughly investigated and found baseless. Mr. Albright's judgment, including his decision to hire you, has been vindicated. Julian caught her eye across the table. Something warm passed between them. Additionally, the chair continued, we'd like to discuss your future with the company. Mr. Albright has recommended you for a permanent position. We'd like to make that official. Emily blinked. A permanent position? Julian stood. Head of internal auditing, full team under your supervision, competitive salary, benefits, and the authority to investigate anything you find suspicious. No questions asked. You'd be rebuilding the department from scratch, Ava added from her seat. Hiring your own team, setting your own protocols, making sure nothing like Vincent's theft ever happens again. Emily stared at them. A department head, her own team, the kind of position that 3 months ago would have been unimaginable. I don't have my degree, she said quietly. We don't care, the board chair replied. You have something better. You have integrity. And the intelligence to back it up. The degree is just paper. What you've proven is irreplaceable. Emily looked at Julian. He nodded, smiling slightly. Okay, she said. Yes, I'll do it. The room erupted in applause. That night, after Noah was asleep and the media requests had finally slowed, Emily sat on her couch in the apartment that no longer felt quite so small, staring at her phone. A text from Julian appeared, not words, just an image, a screenshot of their first conversation. Ben, I'm sorry to bother you again. I just need $40 for diapers. I'll pay you back Friday. Below it, he'd typed, the message that changed everything. Emily's vision blurred. She typed back through tears. You still think it wasn't an accident? His response came quickly. No, I think it was fate with bad spelling. She laughed, a sound that mixed crying with joy, exhaustion with relief. If it was fate, it has a weird sense of humor. The best kind. Emily stared at the message, at the typo that had brought her here, to a job she loved, to security she'd never imagined, to people who saw her not as charity, but as essential, to Julian, who'd answered a desperate text and somehow found a reason to start living again. Thank you, she typed, for answering, for not ignoring me, for giving me a chance when I had nothing to offer. You had everything to offer. I just helped you remember that. What now? Now, a pause, then, now we build something real, together if you're willing. Emily's heart stuttered. She knew what he was asking. Knew the shift that had been happening between them, from stranger to employer to partner to something they hadn't named yet. Something that felt like the beginning of something neither of them had been looking for, but both of them needed. I'm willing, she typed. Good, because I'm not ready to stop showing up for you, or Noah, or this strange, accidental life we've built. Me neither. Outside her window, the city glowed. The same city she'd walked through 3 months ago, desperate and alone, thinking $40 was an impossible ask. Now she was the head of internal auditing at a billion-dollar company, a hero in headlines, a woman who'd proven that sometimes the greatest opportunities come disguised as mistakes, and sometimes the help you need arrives through a wrong number, sent by shaking hands, received by a lonely man who'd forgotten what it meant to care. Emily looked at Noah sleeping peacefully in his crib, at the stability she'd built, at the future stretching out before her. And for the first time in years, she let herself believe in second chances. Not because life was fair, not because she'd earned it through suffering, but because one man had answered a text he should have ignored, and everything had changed. 6 weeks later, The 23rd floor of Helix Core had transformed. The new internal audit department hummed with quiet efficiency. Emily's team of 5 analysts working through expense reports, vendor contracts, and financial patterns with the kind of methodical precision that made corruption impossible to hide. But it was the nursery that had changed most. What had started as a small room for Noah had become something bigger. 3 other employees, 2 mothers and 1 father, now brought their children to work, the space expanding to accommodate cribs, toys, and the kind of laughter that had never existed in corporate hallways before. Emily had done that, had proven that caring for people made them work harder, not less. That seeing employees as whole humans with children and struggles and leaves our outside quarterly reports didn't weaken a company. It made it stronger. She stood at her office window now, watching the city stretch out below and barely recognized the woman who'd sat in the dark 3 months ago, texting a wrong number with shaking hands. That woman had been drowning, desperate, afraid. This woman? This woman was head of internal auditing. This woman had exposed a CFO's corruption. This woman had a team, a salary, and a future that looked nothing like survival. Knock, knock, Emily turned. Julian stood in her doorway. Noah balanced on his hip, the baby's tiny hands tangled in Julian's tie. He wanted to visit, Julian said, smiling that soft smile he seemed to reserve for Noah. Said something about inspecting your new desk for structural integrity. Did he? Emily crossed to them, running her hand over Noah's head. And what's the verdict? He approves, though he's concerned about the lack of toys in your filing cabinet. I'll take that under advisement. Julian set Noah down gently in the play area Emily had created in the corner. Soft mats, board books, a stuffed elephant that played lullabies. Noah immediately grabbed the elephant and squeezed it, giggling at the music. He's grown so much, Julian said quietly. 3 months will do that. They stood side by side, watching Noah play, and Emily felt the weight of everything that had happened between them. The desperate text, the unexpected kindness, the corruption they'd exposed together, the threats they'd survived, the trust they'd built, the something more that neither of them had named yet. You changed everything, Julian said finally. Emily looked at him. I texted the wrong number. You did more than that. You reminded me that caring about people isn't weakness, that showing up matters, that the best things in life come from accidents we're brave enough to embrace. He met her eyes. Before you, I was going through the motions, building wealth I didn't need, living in a house that felt like a museum, working to avoid feeling. And now? Now I feel everything, and it's terrifying, and it's the best thing that's happened to me since Rebecca died. Emily's breath caught. Julian, you changed everything, he repeated. Your courage, your integrity, the way you fight for what's right, even when it costs you, the way you love your son, the way you've built this department into something real. He paused. The way you've made me want to be better. You were already better. You just forgot for a while. Maybe, but you reminded me. Julian took her hand, carefully, giving her every chance to pull away. Emily, these past few months, working with you, watching you become who you were always meant to be, I've been falling. Slowly. Completely. And I don't want to stop. Falling, she whispered. In love. With you. With Noah. With the life we've accidentally built. His thumb traced circles on her palm. I know it's complicated. I know I'm your boss, technically, though I've already talked to the board about restructuring, so there's no conflict of interest. I know you might not feel the same way, but I needed you to know. I'm done pretending I don't want this. Want you. Want us. Emily's eyes burned. You want us? More than I've wanted anything in years. Even though I come with a baby and student debt and a brother who still doesn't trust you. Especially because of those things. Because you're real. Because you fight for what matters. Because when life knocked you down, you got back up. Because you're the bravest person I know. I'm not brave, I'm just brave, Julian insisted. You texted a stranger for help when pride told you not to. You took a job you weren't qualified for and made yourself essential. You stood up to a man who threatened your son. You're brave, Emily. His voice broke slightly. I'd like to make a new promise. Not as your boss, as someone who never wants to stop showing up. For you, for Noah, for whatever this becomes. Emily stared at him, heart pounding, tears streaming down her face. She thought about the woman she'd been, the woman she was becoming, the future she'd never let herself imagine, because dreaming felt like tempting fate. But standing here, with Julian's hand in hers and Noah playing at their feet and the city glowing beyond the windows, this didn't feel like tempting fate. It felt like fate had finally gotten it right. Ask me, she whispered. What? Ask me in person. What you're trying to say. Julian's expression shifted, vulnerability mixing with hope. He took both her hands now, holding them like they were precious. Emily Parker, would you let me take you to dinner? Would you let me be part of your life? Would you let me love you and Noah the way you both deserve? She smiled through tears. Yes, to all of it. Yes. Julian pulled her close, and Emily let herself fall into the embrace, into safety, into trust, into the impossible possibility of love born from a wrong number and watered by kindness. They stood there holding each other, while Noah played obliviously at their feet. We should probably discuss appropriate workplace boundaries, Emily murmured against his chest. Julian laughed, deep, genuine, free. Ava's already drafted new policies. You're being transferred to report directly to the board, not me. Effective next week. You thought of everything. I learned from the best. They pulled apart slightly, just enough to see each other's faces, and then Julian did something he had been wanting to do for weeks. He kissed her, soft, gentle, full of promise. When they broke apart, Noah had fallen asleep on his playmat, the stuffed elephant clutched in his tiny hands. Emily's phone sat on her desk, screen dark but present, a reminder of where this had all started. Later that night, after Emily had gone home and put Noah to bed, after she'd changed into pajamas and made tea she was too excited to drink, she picked up her phone, scrolled back through her messages with Julian, all the way to the beginning, to that first desperate text. Ben, I'm sorry to bother you again. I just need $40 for diapers. And his response, I think you have the wrong number. Then minutes later, the message that had changed everything. Is your baby okay? 4 words, 1 question, a stranger's kindness that had become love. Emily set the phone down, looked at Noah sleeping peacefully in his crib, thought about Julian across the city probably doing the same thing, staring at that conversation and marveling at how accidents become fate. She whispered into the darkness, thank you for answering, for not ignoring me, for being exactly who we needed. And somewhere the universe, which had terrible aim but perfect timing, smiled. Because sometimes the right person comes into your life by mistake, and sometimes mistakes are just fate's way of correcting itself. 1 year later, a small plaque was installed in Helix Corps' main nursery, in honor of Emily Parker, who proved that caring for people isn't a distraction from success, it is success, and in memory of the wrong number that became the right choice. Below it, framed on the wall, a screenshot of a text. Ben, I just need 40 for diapers. And the response, is your baby okay? 4 words that built a family, exposed corruption, changed 2 lives, and proved that sometimes divine accidents are just love arriving by the scenic route.